I was officially a loser in their eyes, and I didn't know what to do. One day they told me how they really felt.
Son, you suck. You're a horrible son. You're a loser and I want you to move out. You have 1 week to find a new place, then you are out of here.
Yeah, you're a complete and total disappointment. I wish we had another kid so they could make something of themselves. But instead we have you. Find a new place quick and get out of our house.
That night, I cried for hours. Hi, I'm Levi. I'm 20 years old and recently just dropped out of college after a series of unfortunate events. Basically, my mother hates me and wants me to move out because she thinks I'm a loser. She would regret this decision when I eventually started making millions online when I became an influencer. Let me start from the very beginning. When I first went to college, I met this amazing girl. Her name was Macy, and she was the most beautiful girl I had ever seen. I met her on my first day of class, which was an engineering class. See, I was in school to become an engineer, just like my father. My parents constantly urged me to go to school and do this, even though I was not passionate about it. Anyways, when I first saw Macy, I went up to her and told her how I felt. I was surprised when she told me she felt the same way. We quickly began dating and doing everything together. One day, we even snuck into a zoo at night and watched the monkeys jump around. It was crazy things like this that made my relationship with Macy so special, and I was definitely falling in love with her. She did meet my parents at one point, but they didn't really like her. I was confused, but decided to ignore it. After the honeymoon phase was over, me and Macy began arguing. It would be over the smallest things, and it really started to cause a strain on our relationship. One day, Macy called me crying and told me she had to tell me something. My heart dropped, and I sped to her apartment to see what was going on. Macy, what's wrong? What happened?
I have horrible news. It's over between us. I met someone rich, sorry.
What? How could you do this? I was horrified to hear that Macy had left me for one of my rich friends, which hurt even more. I quickly broke up with Macy and told her I never wanted to see her again. After my breakup, I fell into a depression. I stopped doing schoolwork and spent most days holed up in my room sulking. I had so many regrets and wished I could turn back time and maybe do something different. I began failing all of my classes, which really made my parents mad.
Levi, we are terribly disappointed in you. You are supposed to be getting good grades, and instead you are failing. This is not what we are partying for.
Yay, son. We are very upset.
It's just been hard with the breakup and all. I am sorry. This excuse meant nothing to them. They had been together since high school and never experienced a breakup before. I loved Macy so much, and now she is gone. I went back to school, but my grades still were horrible. Eventually, I flunked out of school entirely and had to move back home. When I came back home, my parents practically disowned me and told me I should never come upstairs and stay in the basement because they didn't even want to look at me. They urged me to get a job, but I was unable to get hired anywhere. I was officially a loser in their eyes, and I didn't know what to do. One day they told me how they really felt.
Son, you suck. You're a horrible son. You're a loser and I want you to move out. You have 1 week to find a new place, then you are out of here.
Yeah, you're a complete and total disappointment. I wish we had another kid so they could make something of themselves. But instead we have you. Find a new place quick and get out of our house.
That night, I cried for hours. My parents hated me and treated me horribly. I didn't know what to do, so I took out my phone and recorded a video of myself explaining my feelings. I posted the video to social media, and a couple hours later, it was actually blowing up. It was going completely viral, and people wanted to see more. I began making more and more videos, mostly about relationship advice, and they were all going viral. But one day, my mom came into my room during one of my video sessions and destroyed my phone and said,
"Why are you wasting time on things like this? Go find a job."
When she left, I cried and slept off. The next day, I bought another phone and continued posting my videos soon enough. I got to 1 million followers in only a couple days, and it was around that time that I got my first brand deal. I got paid a little over $10,000 to promote a business, which was the most money I had ever made. When I told my parents what I was doing, they didn't even believe me at first. They said that it wasn't a real job and that I still had to move out. At this point, I was making around $10,000 a day. My parents warned me I only had one day to move out. Very early that morning, I heard a knock at my door. When I opened, it was my mom and dad.
Are you ready to live now?
Yes, I am parking my stuffs. When I was parking, I could hear them chatting and laughing. They were saying, "We can rent this part of the house and make some money." When I was done, I took a taxi and went to a hotel. At first stayed there for a few months and purchased a luxury apartment in the best area of town. When my parents heard about it and came to check out my place, they finally believed me.
Wow, Levy, you are so rich. All of our friends have been talking about how successful you are and how proud we should be of you.
Wow, so you only support me when I'm rich and famous? That's so annoying.
We are sorry, son. Please forgive us.
After giving it some thought, I decided to forgive them and routinely had them over for dinner. At this point, I was making almost $500,000 every month and was able to buy several luxurious items, specifically a Rolex watch. It was $100,000 and it was my most prized possession. When my dad saw that I had this watch, he was totally jealous. I let him try it on, and he loved it. Disaster struck one day when I had my parents over for dinner, but realized that my watch was missing after they had left. I knew immediately that my dad must have stolen my watch. I called him up, but he denied taking it. I stormed over to their house and began searching everywhere. Finally, my dad emerged with the watch in one hand and a hammer in the other.
You don't deserve a watch this nice.
Dad, stop. Don't do that, please. I quickly pulled out my phone and began recording. My dad smashed the watch into pieces and began laughing. He must have gone completely crazy. I think it was the success I was experiencing that made him insecure and drove him mad. I sped to the police station and showed them the footage, and they followed me back to my parents' house and arrested my father. When they asked me if I wanted to press charges, I didn't know what to say. On one hand, I felt bad for my dad, but on the other, I knew how horrible he had been to me in the past. My mother begged me not to press charges because they were already going broke. I decided to not press charges, but instead had a better idea. I would have him sent to a psychiatric facility where he could be monitored and brought back to good health. My mother thanked me profusely for not pressing charges on him, but I was still mad at my mother for all she had done. I decided that with all my money, I could think of a way to make it even. I told my mom that if I wasn't going to press charges, then she needed to write me a long letter apologizing for all she has done. This was good because my mother hates writing. It's her least favorite thing on the planet. She agreed to do this and wrote me a great apology letter. After that, we grew apart, but I don't care, they never loved me anyways. Few months later, I heard they had rented my room to a guy and he ended up stealing a lot valuables at home and disappeared. It serves them right. Just when I thought things couldn't get any better, I heard a knock at my apartment door. When I opened the door, I was met with a familiar face. It was Macy, and she looked horrible. She was covered in dirt and smelled really bad. She explained that after we broke up, she continued dating my rich friend. The problem is, she got pregnant and had to drop out of school. She had almost no money, and to make matters worse, her boyfriend left town when he heard she was pregnant. She begged me to take her back and said that she was currently homeless and wanted me back because I was rich and famous and had a nice apartment. It was clear that Macy was just trying to use me for my money, so I slammed the door in her face. She can sleep on the streets for all I care. I still have some contact with my mom and dad, but not much. Some people say that I should have pressed charges on my dad and had my mother get in trouble too. What do you think?